What if the reason that nothing has worked isn't your body, your diet, or even your doctor, but a grief that your grandfather never processed, or a fear that you inherited even before you were born? Sounds a little out there, right? My friend Lisa Schermerhorn, a certified hypnotist, NLP therapist, and energy healer, has spent decades working at the edge of what most people think is possible with healing. And the results, people walking out of her office after not being able to walk, quitting smoking after one session, or blood visibly changing its structure under a microscope. It suggests that she might be onto something that many of us have not caught up to yet. The stories that she brings in our conversation are the kind that make you question everything you think about healing. But I'm going to let Lisa explain it. So just listen. But first, do you know what the words on your food labels are actually hiding? I've put together a free guide for you called The 10 Words on Your Food Labels That Are Lying to You. It's 10 label claims out of a bunch that manufacturers are using to try to give you the impression that their product is healthy and clean, but it really isn't. You can grab it at the link in the description or just go to greenlivingnow.com. Okay, let's get into it. My dear friend Lisa Schermerhorn, welcome.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Amy, for having me.
One of the things that has just always impressed me about you is that you're always learning something new, adding to your toolkit. And I see you as this incredible healer, speaker, book author. Now you're coming out with a second book. You've been in an award-winning movie with Dr. Joe Vitale. You're always doing something amazing. And what would you say is your overall mission with all of this work?
It started to heal myself.
Oh, well, isn't that interesting? It's often how it works, right?
Yeah, it was exactly, I was suicidal. I did not want to be here anymore. It was dark and it was just so heavy. I couldn't breathe and just getting up in the morning, it just felt, what am I even here for?
Oh,
I knew I wasn't going to do anything. I was going to conventional therapy 2 to 3 days a week.
oh my
And
word.
nothing was helping me. I was working with a shaman who insisted that I go on antidepressants. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to you because I don't want to go on meds. And now you're telling me you want me on meds. It was that bad.
Oops.
I found a hypnotist and I didn't know anything about it, but I was desperate. And what people don't understand oftentimes with hypnosis is you're getting to the unconscious mind. You're getting to your higher self, the part of you that has the answers to everything. There were things that I just didn't have access to in just going to conventional therapy. I
Sure.
was just on a loop talking about the same stuff over and over again and being a victim. So she was able to help me get to the root cause of where all this stuff came from. I was like, there's got to be other people like me.
Yeah.
There's people who are struggling like I am. And so she was the reason why I went on to study hypnosis. I became a Reiki master because of her. And then I went on to study NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Tony
Okay.
Robbins is the master. That's what he does for people
Oh,
to get a
okay.
sense what that is. So it's awakening hypnosis, using language to help influence people and the study of really excellence. What do people do that are at the prime of whatever they do? And these are techniques that help people achieve that.
And so, what are the types of things that you're working with people on typically?
So for the most part, I get people who are, I've tried everything and I don't know my purpose. I don't know what I'm here for, or they've had a trauma in their life and they can't seem to pull themselves out of it. One of the major things that I ended up doing was forgiveness work. And the
Hmm.
forgiveness work is what finally was a key in my life. And what happened was I had been releasing and releasing and doing all this work up for myself of releasing. If you were to close your eyes and just think about something that bothers you, you'll feel it someplace in your
Sure.
bodies. And so there's techniques to release it. And then the feeling is gone. You keep the wisdom from the lesson,
Yeah.
but you don't have to keep the pain. That's really the gist of what I do is help people
Okay.
get the wisdom, but release the pain. But with that, people will say, I already forgave them. I'm like, "No, I didn't."
Not with that restricted kind of.
Wow. How many
Yeah.
times people like, I forgave them? And I'm like, I realized that I was asked to be part of a group. It's called the Ho'oponopono group.
Oh, sure.
And it's an ancient Hawaiian prayer. I read Dr. Vitale's book, and the book was Zero Limits. And it was about having people achieve their dreams and manifesting their lives. And I'm in. I read his book, and then I got invited to a weekly Ho'oponopono group. And just the idea of forgiving doesn't mean you like them, want to hang out with them.
You don't give them
Someone,
permission to,
yeah,
let's say you were harmed by somebody. It's not like you're saying, I excuse your behavior. Isn't forgiveness more about how you hold it in your own self?
perfect. That's exactly right.
Oh, cool.
So when you let go, and I use this term a lot, it's like swallowing a poison pill, expecting the other person to die. Your thoughts create things. And so you
Yes.
create these neuropeptides that connect to your cells. And so rage and anger gets stored in your pancreas and your liver.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you want to release this. Again, we are meant to feel, but not hold on.
Yes.
So you
You
let
know,
the emotions pass through,
yeah.
hold it for the rest of your life.
One of the things that's really stood out for me after doing over a year's worth of podcast interviews is that the emotional piece of what people are experiencing is so tied to physical symptoms. And it just blows me away, even though I know this, when I hear somebody's story about they tried all these different things, and especially the people that have gone the conventional route first because they didn't know anything else. And then they're managing symptoms because of different medications they're on and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And then they finally find some kind of holistic alternative. And
This book, Your Body
body,
Speaks to Your Mind
ooh, is
by
that
Deb
kind of like your
Shapiro.
body keeps the score?
I don't know that one, but like Louise Hay.
Yeah, Louise Hay, for
It's
sure.
so sorry. I was like, oh my
Deb
gosh, I gotta
Shapiro.
show this. Deb
Yeah.
Shapiro, Your Body Speaks Your Mind. Go
I'll have
ahead.
to check that one out. I haven't seen that.
My
Yeah. So the bottom line is I keep hearing these stories over and over again is it's one thing to treat symptoms, even using holistic strategies, right? There's still a mentality that I've noticed in us humans that we're looking for that quick fix, right? Whether it's a homeopathic remedy or an herb or whatever, if we don't get to what the core issue is and release it like you're talking about, it's still going to be there on some level, causing trouble.
Absolutely. It's like the metaphor of smoking. Okay. One of the things that I found primarily in a lot of smokers is your lungs are the place where we hold grief.
Yes.
Okay. So if you have unresolved grief, you tend to want to keep stuffing it down. And that's what the cigarette does. It stuffs it down. So the emotion comes up, you stuff it down. One of my clients at 12 years old, his father passed away. And he went to the funeral. His uncle gave him a cigarette because this was 50 years ago.
Oh my.
His uncle gave him a cigarette to make him feel better. He never grieved his father. So when people smoke, they're suppressing. They're not allowing themselves to move through whatever that emotion is. That's why when someone quits smoking, they'll eat or they'll try something else. People will move from one addiction to the other because they haven't gotten to the root cause.
Interesting.
So when I was able to help him go back through his life, we ask your higher self the root cause and boom, you're right there. Now, if I were doing cognitive behavioral therapy, I would have to consciously know that was the moment I made the decision to use cigarettes. But I didn't. But his higher consciousness, the higher self, knew the answer and took us right there.
And you did this in hypnosis
In
with him?
hypnosis. Yeah.
Okay.
So once we healed that, released it, allowed him to grieve just to get it out of his body, then he could quit smoking.
Interesting. And he didn't jump to some other addiction to replace that.
Because
Cool.
once it's gone.
Huh. So I know you've worked with a bunch of people to help them quit smoking. What are some of the other things that you're finding people coming to you for?
It's mostly the emotions of any trauma or anger and grief.
Mm.
It's really about allowing yourself to process. And we hold on. The reason why I pulled this book out, Your Body Speaks Your Mind, was I want to say 15 years ago, my best friend from high school was living down in Florida, so I didn't get to see her very. She passed away, and there was a whole life about her that I didn't know, that I found out when I
Wow.
went, that she basically had some very self-destructive habits that I didn't know. And so when I left and I was flying home, the fellow sitting next to me on the plane was like, your right eye is bright red. Are you aware of that? I said,
Ooh.
no. I looked it up in the book. What is it you don't want to see? What is it you didn't want to know? So I
Hmm.
spent 2 days clearing my guilt that maybe I could have saved her, that I didn't know. And I was
Yeah.
upset that I didn't know. What if I had just gone down there? But anyway, once I let go and cleared it out, and hip issues are often, especially left hip, can be mother issues. And so the left is the feminine, is the masculine. So wherever it shows,
Okay,
the
so wait, right hip is father issues?
masculine is father issues.
Okay. And is it always mother, father, or is it just men and women issues? Or is
Depends
it,
on the individual. These are gross
yeah,
generalizations.
generalizations?
I had a woman who was a hiker, like Mount Everest hiker,
Oh,
and
wow.
with
Serious
her
hiker.
husband, like serious hiker, and she was crippled. She couldn't walk. And she came to me and we went to the root cause, mother. She had some major healing that needed to be done with her mother. We cleared that and she got up and walked out of my office.
Good grief. That's
I
pretty
know.
profound.
It was profound. I was
Wow.
shocked. And I want to say, I don't always have those kinds of results. Sometimes it's layers over a period. But that
Mhm.
was shocking. She got up and she was like, oh my God, I can walk.
Wow. So, for folks that don't really understand hypnosis and LP, can
Yeah,
you help us understand a little bit more about how those things
sure.
work?
Sure. So when you're working with your unconscious mind, so your brain, it works in many different layers. Right now, we are in what's called beta, and it's a quick frequency that works like this. We're in our conscious mind.
Okay.
So whenever you're daydreaming or meditating, you go into something called alpha. So if you've ever driven and you've missed an exit,
Yep.
that's the meditative state. So people think that they're actually supposed to be controlled, but it's not.
So it's not like the shows that we see on stage where people are hypnotized and they do these
Yeah,
ridiculous things.
exactly. I'm not trained in that. I don't know how to do it. And when I
Yeah.
see them do it, it freaks me out.
It does me too, because I would never want to put myself in that situation, first of all.
No,
But
and
I
it's
also
just,
wonder if it's real. I feel like a lot of them are faking.
you have to want to do it.
Yeah,
You have
that's
to
right.
want to be a participant because in the work that I do, I can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do.
Exactly. And that's really key, I think, for anybody that's thinking about hypnosis as an option. You're not going to be delving into things that you're not ready to deal with, first of all, right?
No,
And you
because
won't do things that you're not comfortable with.
exactly. Exactly. Now, does that mean that there wouldn't be any emotional pain that comes up if we suddenly get to a moment? I'm not here to re traumatize anyone.
Right.
So, for instance, if you have an issue that you feel sad about, if people close their eyes and let's say, okay, I feel it in my chest, and then from
Mhm.
0 to 10, 10 would be the highest, let's say it's a 4. So there's really simple techniques that I use. Should I let it go? Yes. Could I let it go? Yes. When now, repeat it, and then it'll be gone. So the idea is to get to a neutral state, which is being in the present moment. So what they do is they help you get to the present moment. One of the big NLP techniques that I use, when we think of things, it stores in the brain in geometric patterns. Okay.
Huh.
So if I were to say to you, go back to a time when you were a child, and then let's say, oh my gosh, I was really sad, a friend bullied me or someone I knew
Mhm.
bullied me. Well, where do you feel that? Now, I will ask someone, what shape is that? Could be a
Oh, I
blob.
remember doing that in the S training when I was 13.
Yeah, and that's NLP.
Oh, wow. That makes sense,
So
because I
it's a,
guess Werner Erhard took a whole bunch of different modalities and combined them all together.
yeah.
Interesting.
So you give
Yeah.
it a shape, you give it a color, it could be a
Right.
texture or a
How much
sound.
water can it hold?
Yeah, it depends on how much detail you want to go in, but sometimes it's just the color and the shape isn't.
Yep.
And then from there, you give it a new shape. You give it a new color, something completely opposite. So
Oh,
someone might have a purple square that's screaming really loud.
yes.
So then I might give it a yellow circle that's really quiet,
Now,
right?
help me understand, what is the thinking behind giving it a new shape and a new color?
Because then it becomes a new thought.
Okay, so it's
You're
retraining the brain?
transforming the shape and the color that your brain stored. You've
Okay.
identified it, you're feeling it. Now you're giving it a new shape, which gives it
Okay.
a new thought.
So do you actually put a new thought in there too
No,
with
just
that
by
new shape?
changing the shape, it becomes neutral.
Okay, so neutral doesn't mean that it's putting anything positive in, for example. It's just
No,
kind of
it's seeing it for what it truly is.
okay.
It's
Interesting.
seeing the reality because, especially as children, when there's trauma involved,
Yeah.
let's say there was a parent who was really mean, and let's say you got a spank for something. As a child, that person feels like a monster. So that's what gets
Mm,
imprinted. To them, they're like 8 or 9 feet tall. As
mm,
an adult, you're like, oh, that was my broken father who was an addict and who this had nothing to do with me. This was about them.
mm.
See it from a different lens
Yes.
instead of this is all my fault. I did it. And so you're shifting the reality of how you see things into
Okay.
seeing it for what it truly is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that the whole shifting of the way we see things and our beliefs associated with that, with whatever these things are, is monumental. I've been listening to the Peter Crone Finding Freedom, I think is the name of it. But I was listening to some podcasts on the way back from my daughter Diana's this weekend. And the whole idea is very much like what we've been talking about. Oftentimes we have these experiences, particularly in childhood, that leave marks in some way. And we are continuing to live from that place of being like that child.
Yes.
And we don't have the access to what you just explained, that adult perspective of, oh, my dad was an addict. He was doing the best he could with what he had. Because I was listening to this one guy talking about how his mother died when he was fairly young, and the father ended up working 12-hour shifts. But his father would constantly say, I wish I'd never gotten married and I wish I'd never had kids. And so the message that this young man took was, I'm a mistake. And so his whole life was plagued with that belief system. And so this Peter guy was working with him to release that
Yeah.
and dissolve it, right? To get rid of it. So it's no longer operating in his internal system.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
And there's many different modalities. I can't be hypnotized. I don't need someone to be hypnotized in order to do this work. And many other tools.
One thing about hypnotists or hypnosis, because I've been hypnotized, I think you've hypnotized me in the past,
Probably.
haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I experienced, and I've had this happen more than once, and I've done some past life regressions, I didn't feel like I was in some completely different place. I felt like I was still present, right? I could still hear things going on around me, but yet I was in this kind of maybe more relaxed state that allowed me to access what you were talking about, the higher mind,
Yeah. It's the
yeah, a
daydream
daydream.
state. Yeah.
Yeah,
So people
exactly.
are awake, like they get up and go to the bathroom,
Oh,
you know.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they can get up and move around. Believe it or not, when you're watching TV and you're in a movie, you're actually in the state of hypnosis.
that makes total sense. Yeah, when
So
you
the
get so involved in the
well, the
story, the characters, that happens to us.
yeah. So we're in it, and TV, they actually use techniques to program people. They repeat over and over again messages.
Even product placement, right? When you see certain
Exactly.
familiar products in the scene, and then all of a
Um,
sudden there's a commercial for whatever that is. Wait a minute.
no, it's exactly right. But
Yeah.
this is about helping people really have a sense of who they are at the core
Yeah.
and letting go because we often will live vicariously through other people. Or parents wanted us to do things. I had wanted to be an artist. I got into Rhode Island school design. My parents wouldn't let me go because they thought I'd become weird or a poor
Oh,
starving
no
artist.
way.
Yeah. And you know what? It all worked
Goodness
out
me.
perfectly, exactly as it should have. And so I was able to let go and forgive them. But for years, I had a lot of anger around that because who turns down one of the top art schools in the world?
Yeah. And it's particularly amusing to me too, thinking about all the interesting things that you do that might be considered weird to your parents is a lot
Exactly.
more weird than art would be.
Exactly. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
wild.
yeah.
Wow.
Even getting into weird, like I teach people how to bend spoons.
Yeah, tell us about that. Like, how does that even work? And that you're talking about not like physically manipulating, but
Well,
with your mind.
well, because
Okay.
this is a stainless steel. I can't bend this right now,
Oof.
but
Okay.
I've bent a 10-foot piece of rebar from my throat.
Wait,
Um,
what? Say that again. You did what?
it's at my house. I'm surprised they've ever seen it. A
You've
10-foot
bent a piece of
piece
rebar?
rebar, 10-foot piece of rebar from the soft part of my throat. I have it in my house. I'll show it to you next time you're here.
Okay.
I've walked 40 feet of red hot coals.
Yeah, that blows my mind. You went to a Tony Robbins thing?
No,
No.
this was training on actually facilitating firewalks. It was a week-long firewalk.
So help people understand what goes on, how you can do that without burning your feet. What is happening there?
So the idea is you're raising your frequency because we are not solid beings. We are light. We are energy,
Which
right?
is the case for everything, like even this desk and the computer, right?
Exactly.
It's all energy, but it looks solid to our eyes.
We think we are solid, but we are not. So what happens is with the spoon, I take people through a guided meditation and they're
Okay.
sending all this energy to this part of the spoon. You can feel your fingers start to tingle. You can
Okay.
feel the metal in your hand start to feel soft and
Okay.
warm. And then I have people open their eyes and bend it, and then it bends. And then within a few seconds, it's stuck in, you can't move it. Here I have
Wow.
these other spoons.
Oh my word.
But it's really cool. It's really cool because
And so what's the mechanism that's happening that's allowing the spoon to be bent that if you were to try it without going through this process, it would be very difficult to do that,
it's your
right?
belief system. It's your thought. So getting back to walking on fire,
Okay.
if you are really down, you don't believe that you can do it, you will burn
Mhm.
yourself.
How
The
do you get
Robin,
into that place? I know Tony Robbins does that for people. There's got to be people that are
they play
scared.
music, you have really high vibe music, and they get people pumped and excited because the fire has its own chi energy. It's called the noon.
It's called the what?
Noom, Nume, I think. That's what I
Oh,
was taught.
okay.
So you want to match it or get it higher. If you're really depressed and not in a good place, I
Right.
wouldn't advise walking because you probably will burn yourself. So I was terrified. I spent a week, I was walking 7 to 10 feet a night and terrified of doing 40 feet.
So wait, so you did it terrified and you still didn't burn your feet?
What happened was got to that last day in order to graduate this program, I had to walk 40 feet. I found out Sunday that I had to walk 40 feet, and all I did was freak out all week. In the meantime, I walked 4 feet of broken glass. I walked 7 to 10 feet of red hot coals every night. I bent the rebar from my throat. I was breaking arrows from my throat, and I couldn't see any of it. Couldn't appreciate it because the whole time, all I kept thinking was,
I got to
I'm
walk
gonna
40 feet.
die. I'm gonna lose my feet. This isn't possible.
And
And
yet you're doing these remarkable things
and I
already.
yeah, and that was a metaphor for my life.
Oh. So wait, what was the metaphor for you?
So that I was doing magical things and I was very powerful and I couldn't see it because of my fear.
Mm, interesting.
And
Okay.
I was married at the time. At the very end, I was terrified to leave. I
Yeah.
was afraid I had no voice. And then I
Oh,
walked the final 40. So what happened was one of the people in the class looked at me because I was a mess and he said, asked me, how much fire have you walked this week? And I'm like, it's been 5, 6 nights of red hot coals, 7 to 10 feet. And he said, you've walked more than 40 feet already, right?
but it's not at one time.
And he's like, you've already done this. You've
Yeah.
got it. Go. And as
Yeah.
soon as I heard go, it was like a light switch went off in my head. I walked all the way across. They had a bell at the other side. I rang it and then I turned around and I was like, I don't even remember. It was like I floated above it.
Wow. And no
So
burns on your feet.
no burns.
So after you accomplished that, Did
Yeah.
something change for you?
Yes. I got a
What changed?
divorce.
Ah, okay. And did you go into it with that anticipation that you would be getting divorced? Was that no? So you didn't even
Oh,
have that
you
awareness when
know.
you were doing this.
No, I went because things were not great at home. I had been studying with this woman for 3 years. It was a shamanic apprenticeship.
Okay.
And I was just in this funk. I was afraid to be alone. I didn't know how I was going to support myself. I knew he would be really adversarial. Didn't want that. I
Mhm.
didn't want my kids to deal with it. They were in college at
Yep.
that point. So there was a lot going on in my head. And once I did it, I'm like, I just walked 40 feet of cold. I just did all these things. If I can do this, I can do anything. Got home and he looked at me and I was like, I just walked 40 feet of cold. I was so excited. And he said,
Yeah.
That's nice. We're late for a party getting caught.
God.
And that was when the switch went. And I was done.
Yeah.
And I knew it. I knew it. And I knew for years because I kept saying to my friends, when am I going to know? When am I going to know? And then I just,
No kidding.
yeah, I was like, when
But
I know it's too late.
so you knew you wanted to leave, you just weren't sure when? Ah. So once you had that experience of the power that you actually had, then
Yes,
you realized you could handle whatever came.
exactly. When I met you, I had just left.
Yeah.
So you knew what I was going. It was not easy,
Yeah. It was tough. But
but
you made it
I did make
and you're thriving.
I am thriving and I am happier than I've ever been in my life. I mean, I love my kids. I had an amazing life,
Um,
but now that was for others. Now I get
right.
to do this for me.
Some of the amazing things that you've done, you've written a book called,
Yes. There's in every belief is a lie.
which is a
And if you
great
look at
title.
the word lie,
Yeah.
that's in the middle of belief.
I love that.
And
And so what's the essence of this book?
so this is all about how we're programmed. And I have techniques and exercises in here. There I am. There I am walking 40 feet of fire.
Oh my
And there I
gosh,
am.
I can see the smoke.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool that somebody took the picture for you. Holy
Yep.
mackerel.
And there's me walking on broken wine bottles.
Whoa, that's intense.
Yeah. I just opened to that. And then
That's cool.
here I am bending the rebar with
Wow.
him.
And so
And
for people that don't know rebar, that is
solid
incredibly solid, rigid
iron.
metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you have all these cool tools and techniques in the book, as well as your own story, so that it helps people understand that we're all programmed, basically.
Yes.
Isn't it like from in utero to age 7 is when the biggest programming is happening through our
Yes.
parents and like all those different cliches that we've all heard money doesn't grow on trees and all the different things that are part of the messages that we receive as we're growing up.
Well,
And then we have to decide whether or not those are actually serving us or not.
exactly. And it goes beyond that because we can inherit beliefs.
Oh, totally. So
And
talk a little
that's
bit
a
about that.
whole nother, oh, we're having fun today. People would be like, what is she talking about? There's a fellow named Dr. Mark Wallen wrote a book, It Doesn't Start With You. And I saw him speak at a conference in California, and like this light bulb went over my, and I was listening because he said he could tell by the way people use their language whether or not it belonged to them, the trauma, or if it was inherited.
Ooh, so what would be an example?
So an example is he had a client who had been depressed from the moment she was born.
Oh
This
my
kid
gosh.
never had any joy, which is also a sign, right? Because how can a
Mhm.
baby coming in?
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
usually 0 to 3 is usually the most joyful time of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was very depressed her entire life.
Okay.
And she was using terms, want to be incinerated. I don't
Yeek.
want to be here anymore. So he said, are you of
Holocaust surviving?
Jewish ancestry? And she said, yes. Did you have a family member who survived the Holocaust? Yes. So she was carrying her grandmother's trauma. And so we have in our DNA, we can carry, and you can see it when there's patterns in the family.
Yeah.
Certain behaviors that are dysfunctional in a family, that's
Yeah.
generally inherited ancestral trauma. So what I do with people is I use hypnosis, and your higher self has the answer to everything.
Yep.
Take people back, take me to the root cause, and we will go and an ancestor will show up.
Oh, no kidding. So you see them in your mind's eye.
They see them.
Oh, they do too.
They see them.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I will get information about them. I want them to do the healing. So
Oh,
we'll have a conversation with this ancestor and we do the healing. Sometimes they don't want to do the healing. We have to talk them into it because they don't understand. But the
okay.
soul, when it's traumatized, we're speaking to that part to clear it. So you're clearing your whole lineage. So we're
Mhm.
going there and they're clearing. I've gone back 10 generations and more. And we go to the next one.
So let me just understand something. So when you say clearing the lineage, it means that when that person is healing, let's say the ancestral stuff of being in the Holocaust and surviving, then they no longer carry that with them in their own life. But how does that impact, let's say, their kids?
It clears it for them too.
So they don't even have to do the clearing, even though they may have inherited some of that trauma.
Right.
Once the parent
Well,
gets rid of it, it goes away for the kids.
we have free will and there's
Okay.
patterns that are there. But what happens is once you release it, it's not
Mhm.
stuck. It's like a cord that, let's say,
Okay.
a cord or a ball and chain. So you
Okay.
cut the ball and chain, and then all of a sudden it's like you have the choice to step forward or you're free
Okay.
now. It's like they've done a study with fleas where they put fleas inside a jar and they were hopping up and they kept hitting the top of the jar. And
Right.
then they removed the jar and they didn't realize the jar was gone. So they kept hopping.
Oh my gosh, I've heard that so many different times, the
Yeah.
various different animals that have been caged and then they open the door and they don't
They don't
wander out
open
because
out.
they think the door is still shut.
Yeah. It's the same with humans. So
Right.
I always say it's getting the fear out and
Right.
whatever there. But yes, it can clear for generations. People will
Mm.
say, I feel so much lighter. And let's say it's all a metaphor because they're like, how can you prove that you were really talking to them? I can't.
Yeah. It doesn't really
What I
matter
would,
though.
it doesn't because now what you've done is you healed it and it's gone.
Yeah. That's cool. And
There's no such thing as time. So
yeah,
everything's happening simultaneously.
that's
So
so hard for me to wrap my head around.
I know it is. It is. I have the same problem. But what you do is, if you think about it, you're tapping into a lifetime that's happening simultaneously. So whether or not it's past life or ancestral, you're healing them.
And so the way these parallel lives happen at the same time is it's because they're on different vibrations. Is that the distinction?
Different, just at different frequencies, different vibrations.
One of the things that really helped, excuse me understand frequency is imagining a radio tuned to different stations.
Yes.
The different frequencies, a different station. Yeah.
So you're tuning into a different frequency. You're just so yes, it's like a radio. I love that metaphor.
Yeah.
So that can be very healing. I've had people who come to me for weight loss. They were struggling losing weight, and then they popped into a past life where they were in charge of the food for the community, and they
Uh-huh.
did a really poor job at managing the growing season, and the town starved. And so they were hoarding food in this lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty wild.
it is. It is. This stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
There's never a dull moment in this work because I'm always like, really? Wow. I never would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each person's story is so different, I'm guessing, right?
So different. So
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
So to folks that are listening and thinking, man, this is pretty far out, but fascinating, what would you say is a first step that somebody might take in the process of trying to clear some stuff that might be holding them back from experiencing their best life or health related, actually? Let's talk a little bit about health because that tends to be the focus of the podcast. What would you recommend to somebody that's listening that this is kind of new to and they're like, huh, this is interesting. What do I do?
Well, it depends on the individual because
Okay.
I've had a lot of people come to me because they're like, I've tried everything
Yes.
and I'm desperate now. I'll try anything. And people
Okay.
go
So it
in
gets them to a place where they're
the
more open.
surrender, the surrender,
Oh, the
right?
surrender. Okay.
It's this because people are like, how do I know I need you? Well, you don't necessarily, but are you drawn to me? Is there
Ah,
something?
right.
Or what happens is people get really scared because there's a part of them that knows they need it.
Yeah.
And then they don't know how do I, because they're afraid that if I've been stuffing down grief my whole life, and I let that happen. How am I going to live my life? And the
Yeah.
cool thing is that you're not going to have to, you'll feel it, but it's quick.
It's
But a
not going to
quick break.
drag out for years. Yeah. So that whole re-experiencing something traumatic, it's not like you're going through it as though you did it the first time it happened. You're getting like this quick, oh, look at that. Like on a movie screen almost, would you say?
Yes. Yes, exactly. It's like a movie. And actually, part of NLP, what it does is it will have you project out as if it's a movie and you can watch it. So you watch it in color and then you rewind it in black and white. So it's almost like,
Oh,
when you take a pair of binoculars and you turn them backwards and suddenly it looks far away instead of bringing things close. So what you're doing is you're not getting rid of it because it happened.
yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
making it go away. Still there. You're just keeping the wisdom and letting go of the pain.
So it's no longer driving your
It's not
behavior in
driving
a
you,
certain way.
but the wisdom will drive you. For
Mm,
instance, my greatest wounds are from my childhood, of all the things that happened and
sure.
all my trauma. I don't have to live that anymore. I have the wisdom. And because I have the wisdom to work with someone, identify those things immediately because I lived it. Because who else
Mm,
knows it better than someone who lived it versus read it in a book?
correct. I would say it's very similar to, I would imagine if somebody was a smoker and they were able to get free of smoking, they might be a better helper to somebody
Right.
that's trying to quit and has tried
Perfect.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it even goes even further out. Some of the work that I do for people who understand energy medicine, when you
Hmm.
get into Reiki or any of those modalities,
Yep.
where I started doing the hand healing with people many years ago and then got retrained to work with people to help heal. My motivation was to help with side effects for certain things such as vaccines, many other things. And
Mm.
I didn't know how far I could take it because my initial training was it had to be in person when you work with someone. And I was like,
Right.
how do I know that I'm actually clearing things like spike proteins or clearing things and changing people's and making them healthier?
Yeah.
How to identify? And I spoke to a friend of mine who was a functional medicine specialist, and she recommended something called dark field microscopy, which is a special microscope that will show people's live blood on this big screen. And I found out that it was actually illegal to do that in Vermont. It was considered practicing medicine with a license.
Just the
And
observation of the way your blood is functioning is considered practicing without
yeah, exactly.
bummer.
I have no comment.
Yep.
Anyway, so I needed to find a place where I could find someone who access to dark field microscopy so I
Yep.
could see if this do anything.
So you were looking for a before and after. You wanted to see what their blood
Exactly.
looked like before the healing and then afterwards to prove that something changed.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I spoke to a friend of mine who was down in Florida and she was having symptoms. She wasn't feeling well. She had a lot of pain in her shoulders and her arms. And she had a friend who was trained in dark field microscopy. So we did FaceTime and took pictures of the whole thing. She
Yep.
had her blood checked and it was very misshapen.
Cells.
White blood cells are supposed to be round. And these were like oval, some of them were pear shaped. They were stacked.
Hmm.
There's something called rouleau. They were stacked on top of each other. And you could see the blood cells weren't getting the proper nutrients. I don't have a science background at all.
You're not a trained doctor.
I'm not a trained doctor, but no, I have no medical background. So I'm just going by the professionals. So
Right.
we got the photos of what her blood looked like.
Yep.
Then when she went home, we did this quantum healing where I'm in Vermont, she's in
Yep.
Florida.
You're on.
And I'm doing this healing on her. And then the following week, she went and had her blood rechecked. And when she had her blood rechecked, her blood looked normal.
And how were her
And
symptoms?
her symptoms were gone. She was having massage therapy done because she had a lot of pain in her arms. So she was
Yep.
always manipulating the muscles. And the massage therapist was what happened here? What have you been doing? Your muscles are different, and her pain level, she was much more flexible.
Wow.
So, and then called me and said, I have a friend who is a first responder. They have symptoms of MS, and he just collapsed on the floor in his kitchen for 11 hours. He was 2 weeks removed. Do you think you could help?
Oh gosh.
I'm like, I have no idea. I was nervous through all of this because I didn't know. This was all new to me. I was just
Yeah.
experimenting. So he agreed and he had his blood looked at, and his blood was an mess, absolute mess. And he went home, and when I do these healings, guides come in. Everyone has spirit guides. Angels will come in, ascended
Yep.
masters,
And you can
people's
see these
guides.
entities.
I can see them. I see them through my mind, my third eye.
Right. And
But
you don't call yourself a psychic or anything either, do
no,
you?
no.
Because in some ways, this is what psychics, intuitives, mediums, etc. They have that
Well, we
capability
all
of being able
have
to
it.
see that. We all
We
do,
all have
right?
it. And just like everyone can play a piano, just some people can play classical and play Beethoven, and others can play chopsticks. But we
Yeah.
all have these abilities.
Yeah.
And what happened was I was working on him, and I started visualizing water entering the crown of his head, was going through his body, and seeing it go through his feet. And what I saw coming through his feet was murky, dirty water.
Oof. And were you talking about this with him, or you were just imagining this in your own
I
mind's
just
eye?
was seeing it in my mind's eye while he was
Okay.
asleep,
Oh, he
practically.
was asleep. Okay.
He had his eyes closed, and he was just in this meditative state.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I'm like pushing and pushing because there's this blockage I see in his abdomen, like trying to push, and nothing's. And all of a sudden, I feel this presence next to me. And I look next to me, and I see Jesus. And he's come to me many times working with people. So I stepped aside. To be fair, I'm Jewish. So, like, I
Right.
didn't
I was going to say,
have
what's your religious background for those who might be
exactly.
interested?
So I was like, but he's come. He's Jewish. People
That's right. Exactly.
always laugh as though his mother was a Jewish mother. So he was helping me, and I stepped aside, and he started pushing, and the water released, the whatever the blockage was released, and I saw all this clear water running through his body, healing him.
Out
I
his
didn't
feet.
say out his feet. So I didn't say anything to him. I
Yeah.
just said, let's check back in a few days and see how
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
So we went back and had his blood checked, and his blood looked normal.
Okay.
Then he said to me, I don't know if this is relevant, but 2 days after the healing, I woke up at 7 in the morning, could not stop throwing clear liquid. I didn't have any water before I went to bed. I didn't have anything in the middle of the night. I have no idea where this water came from because I have never had that much water.
And normally when people throw up, there's still undigested food and things that come out of the stomach. So the fact that it was clear is unusual unless he'd been fasting.
Exactly. Wow. It was clear liquid. I have miracles happen on a regular basis. And this is why my next book that's coming out June 16th is called We Are Quantum. Because we have the ability to manifest and create our lives. Like when I'm doing this work, I am not healing anyone. I am holding space
Yeah.
and allowing people to heal themselves,
Yeah.
utilizing their guides and their loved one on the other
Yep.
side.
Yep.
So I always say, I'm not doing anything. I'm just holding space for them.
Yeah.
What is quantum? And
Yeah.
I've actually read books on quantum healing, quantum physics.
Yep.
I can barely even understand it myself, let alone try to explain all of these different things.
There is that double slit experiment that I always think of when I think of quantum. And it's this really cool cartoon version that you can see on YouTube. That for those that are interested in getting a little sense of what quantum is, because it is hard to wrap one's head around it, I think, for the average person. The bottom line of that whole video for those interested is that there's a certain result that happens with a test when nobody is watching. But then when there's somebody watching, it changes the result of that test. And that's mind blowing.
Yes.
Just the action of there being a witness
Yes.
somehow can change something, which is.
And their thoughts completely change. So we have the ability to manifest and create our lives.
Yep. The way we want them.
The way that we want. and the way we don't want them. Because when we are so negative, we will
Mm,
manifest that too. When you speak, it's a spell.
yeah.
You're creating
And
spells.
yeah, one of the things that's really stood out for me that I say all the time is that the mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It's like because all those experiments where they have athletes going through their routine in their mind, they're actually having physiological impacts from just visualizing their routine. That's
Yeah,
incredible to me.
that's self hypnosis. So they're training
Oh,
themselves. Yeah,
self-hypnosis. Okay.
yeah. So they go through it over and over again. It becomes part of them.
Yeah.
So these things are so fascinating, and everyone has their own gifts and talents. It's about tapping into.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my daughter, and I thought to myself, the best way for people to understand things are through story. At least
Yes.
that's how I learn.
Me
And
too.
people remember stories. So I started talking to friends of mine and people I knew, and they were willing to share their stories working in the quantum realm. And the first
Mhm.
person was Dr. Joe Vitale. I'd just been in a movie with him, Zero Limits, and he talks about the Ho'oponopono and how it saved his life. It changed my life. Going back to when I was part of that Ho'oponopono group, I had someone who I hadn't spoken to in 14 years, and I had forgiven them. It was 3 months, and I get a phone call while I'm driving. Hi, I noticed things between us have changed. I want you back in my life. How can we make that happen? Now, the only thing that had changed was the prayer.
So when they
It,
said that things had changed, what did they notice? They just
because
felt
when
differently.
because when I shifted, the world outside of me shifts.
So they
And
felt something shift even though they hadn't been in touch with you or seen you or anything.
I forgave them. They
That's
didn't know
cool.
it. They had no idea that I had forgiven.
But they
And there's
felt it.
yes. And so there's miracle stories that happen like this all the time. This
Yep.
is all the quantum world, how you can meet someone and instantly you either love them or you don't. What is that? You feel
Yeah.
you get on your cell phone and you're talking to someone across the world. How does that work? You don't see the wires, you don't see
Right.
the it's the same thing. Our bodies, our souls work the same way.
Yeah, that's a good
It's like a
analogy.
cell phone. So for me, I went to him, and then all of a sudden, I was talking to people. And as I talked to people, they had stories, they would add their stories. So I became friends with Tom Althouse, who wrote the original screenplay to The Matrix, and
Cool.
how he channeled the idea of the Matrix. And it's like, that's quantum. So he wrote his story in the book.
And this is the new collaborative book that
This is a new
you talked about.
collaborative book called We Are Quantum that's coming out June 16th. So we're doing a author meet and greet, and then
Oh,
people
nice.
can buy the book that night. So
Okay.
I have 160 people signed up for that, and it's still 2 weeks away. I'm so
Wow. Where is
excited.
that?
It's going to be on Zoom online,
Oh, it's on Zoom.
and
So you don't even have to
people,
leave your living room.
no, no. So
Sweet.
June 16th at 7 o'clock,
We'll put
and
that in the show notes.
yeah. So it's really been exciting. And someone like Michael Jaco, who's a friend of mine, he's a former SEAL Team 6 member and instructor and former CIA.
Okay.
He talks about a near death experience where Archangel Michael showed and saved his life and how he learned a remote view. So he would be in a war and he could see miles ahead and see if the coast was clear. He could see if enemies. He was saving lives by being able
That's an
to.
incredibly useful skill.
His story's cool. I had a doctor who was in a plane crash who was told she'd probably be paralyzed, healed herself, and she walks perfectly fine.
Wow.
Two people who were in motorcycle accidents separately, and they both healed themselves when doctors told them that there was no chance.
Yeah.
Quantum is also music. I have someone who is in the plant world. You know her, Liz Perkins.
Oh, yeah.
She wrote a chapter of how she communicates with plants and
Oh,
trees
cool.
and her experience of
I
that. I have someone else who does plant medicine. She's a psychonaut, they call it, but she helps people with ayahuasca,
oh,
all
that kind of
the
plant medicine.
psilocybin, and
Yeah.
all of those things. And her story of being in the quantum in that field and healing. So quantum can be anything. That's why I say to people, You all have your gifts. When you release your trauma, release your old belief systems, forgive, it's like you have a highway and there's boulders on top of it. And
Yeah.
you're moving the boulders, and all of a sudden you just see the finale, like what's ahead of you, what you want to create is right there. And I have crazy miracle stories to a point now where I think of things and they happen.
Wow.
And I can't even explain it. I laugh because I'm like, oh, I think I'd like to do something. And suddenly 2 days later, I'll get a phone call and I'll
That's
be
awesome.
invited to speak at an event.
Synchronicity.
It is the synchronicity is happening. So for me, it's about like doing the work of seeing the science of seeing people's blood change before and
Yes.
after and the stories related to that. And also, there's someone in it who's a nurse, and how she uses humor and she healed herself from third stage breast cancer.
Oh, wow. That's
It's a
interesting
mindset.
too, because I listen to Pandora comedy to go to sleep at night. It really helps. I can't listen to music. My mind will race. But if I
Yeah.
listen to comedy, I'm engaged in that whatever for however long it lasts. And I put it on a timer for 30 minutes. I'm probably usually asleep within 10,
So what I also did was I created a landing page on my website that
which
has
is what's the website?
lisamindset.com.
LisaMindset.com. Okay.
And so if you go under books and then We Are Quantum, because
Yeah.
there's a page for my other book,
Yep.
you'll see all the 36 authors.
Oh, cool.
And they've all been interviewed, except for two. I still have two left.
Okay.
Dr. Christiane Northrup wrote the foreword to my book,
Oh,
and
nice.
she's been interviewed as well.
Yep.
So I have 36 authors in here all talking about their lives. So it's much more than just the story in the book.
Any final thoughts you want to share before we close?
Yeah, I'm doing an
Yeah.
event June 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for people who'd like to join us. Many of the authors of the book will be there where you can ask questions of the authors
Oh,
and
sweet.
you'll be able to purchase the book at discounts.
And this is a free event online.
It's a free event on Zoom.
Check that.
It'll be $888 special price,
Oh,
and then it goes
interesting.
up to $1444 regular price. And if
Okay.
you can't make that event, you can also go on my website and pre-purchase so you get
Oh, cool.
$888 price.
Okay.
And any of the people who go to that event or pre-purchase the book get a free group quantum healing. I'm going to be doing a
Ooh.
healing for all the people who supported the book.
All right. I'm signing up for that.
Yeah. So it'll be
Wow.
fun. Yeah.
You are just a wealth of incredibly interesting information. And I don't know that you see yourself. It reminds me of how you said you did all these miracles. You were walking 7 feet to 10 feet on hot coals and all these things that you did, but you didn't really think it was that big of a deal until somebody pointed it out. I
Yeah.
feel like that's what I'm hearing. You're just doing these incredible things. People's lives are changing, and you're just, yeah, just another day in the life. I love it.
You know what? Because it didn't all happen at once. It's been over
Mm,
time, and
right.
it's like I want to study. I always want to learn. I meet new people,
Yes.
and I'm always trying new experiences.
Yep.
It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah.
And for some of this, it may be too far out there for people, right? They may
Oh,
not
for
be
sure.
ready. But when I said about the book is my hope is that one person's story will inspire you.
Yeah.
One person will give you the inspiration to go, oh, maybe I can do that too.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.